All right. Well, I had some work to do yesterday outside, doing some mowing and putting a new faucet on, this and that. So, didn't really think much of a video. I felt very tired yesterday. I feel a little more energized today, but I wanted to talk about something I've kind of talked about before, but I'll say it here in another video. This is one of those, I should probably make a playlist of that, including like why I regret getting into politics or something like that. It is the lumpenproletariat. Now, I think many MLs and MLMs, and I think they are correct to a point, but I don't think that they will convert them. I do think that the lumpenproletariat will be the ones that win, ultimately. Now, of course, they've expanded the original definition of lumpenproletariat a la Marx, which is more like the like the swindlers and the thieves, this and that, the gang members, etc., etc. And they've extended that. A lot of the time people just say the lumpenproletariat are the folks that aren't politically influenced. Or they don't have a political character. And I think everybody, to a point, does have some sort of political character. To me, it's just more of a it's just more of a they have political ideas, but the idea of a party doesn't really suit them because they know that ultimately a party may not do anything, or maybe the party just gives lip service to ideas, this and that, right? At least that's my opinion. But I know that people have talked about this over the years. Like I say, it's all a blur to me at this point about years and when, but there were parties, there were always gangs that existed. It's different forms that became like mafias, this and that. The Russian mafia, if we want to think about it like this, the Russian mafia, of course, came from the gulags, where it's like you had all these folks that are locked up. I don't know, people are going to say, not that many people died in the gulags compared to, concentration camps. I know. I'm not going to sit here and make gulags look too bad, but they operated similar to American prisons, where now everybody is there together. So it doesn't matter whether you're a thief or a drug dealer or, a pimp, whatever the case may be, you're all in this gulag together. And, what it does is it causes people to, check their notes and everything else like that, and compare notes, I should say. Yeah. So, I think it's a very complicated thing. I was going to talk a little bit about the history of the so-called Russian mafia. And of course, the reality is that the Soviet Union could never get rid of the lumpenproletariat. Whether it was the black markets, whether it was the bitch wars that occurred after the Great Patriotic War, where there was a fight between those that fought for the Red Army to defend the Soviet Union versus those that said, nah, Soviet Union goes against, all that matters is the family. Ironically, of course, the Russian mafia, of course, mostly made up of Georgians, but that's a whole other thing. You think even in China, and I know maybe I'm stretching the definition of lumpenproletariat as well. Maybe there's a mafia class that, MLs may have come up with. I don't know. But anywho, You think about it even in China. I'm going to say it in Cantonese because it's easier. Haksei Woi, basically the Black Society, basically the triads. You have various triads that existed mainland China. Obviously, the Green Gang was a form of that. Big Ear Du Yusheng, who was a big opium dealer, big time hustler in Shanghai. Worked with the Kuomintang. Hid out in Hong Kong for many years, but he also did a lot of opium, this and that. So he was kind of screwed up. But yeah. We have the evolution of, the triads, this and that exist in China. And there are arrests that do occur even to this day of triads, this and that, but it's a very different type of thing. Obviously, even in Hong Kong, Hong Kong protests were a bit fought back by the triads, the Haksei Wei. Now, of course, the United States, you think of the Commission, you think of Lucky Luciano, that sort of thing. Now, of course, the United States worked with Lucky Luciano, as I said in the previous video. Cut a deal with the U.S. Navy, and he was able to go back to Sicily and start up connections, And when he was getting prosecuted by the United States, he was able to go back to Sicily and run his operations again, It's a real question of, are the lumpenproletariat the real winners? Now, I mean, you could also say Yakuza as well, But are the black marketers, the hustlers, the folks that are not overtly political, that want to change everything, are they the real winners? It took me 7 minutes to get to the point of the video, but the Soviet Union could not get rid of the lumpenproletariat. They couldn't make them into, proletarian people. And even if they did, they'd get kicked to the curb and whatnot. And, they sold flowers or whatever the case may be, right? So, I mean, this is something that has to be, I think people have to dig a little bit deeper here. When you find out that, who are the real winners of a revolution? Is that you can, I've always said with a revolution, I do want to reiterate these points, just as I try to be consistent here, but I don't care who starts it. What matters is who finishes it, whomever that may be, quote unquote, whomever. But the lumpenproletariat will always exist in some form. Now, of course, like I said, people have extended the idea of lumpenproletariat past the black marketers, past the so-called mafia, and exists to those folks who are making money through OnlyFans, which ironically, of course, OnlyFans now has no sexual content. That doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, now they're going to have to just go on Pornhub or wherever else, right? They're going to have to go to some other site so that they can sell booby pics and whatnot and sell cooter pics, Yeah, cooter, for those that don't know, cooter is just a redneck term for pussy. But yeah. I mean, I guess you want to consider that lumpenproletariat. I mean, I thought that was a sex worker and all that sort of thing. I guess it's okay if you can make money from that without pimps and whatnot, but it's like, I don't know. Nah. There's a danger there. And I think that there's a lot of folks trying to win hearts and minds of that. And there are numerous other things I didn't talk about. Like, for example, the Crips and the Bloods, this and that. But that has a different history. They originally with gangs and even with the mafia in the United States, I can't really speak for other countries, but in the United States, it was more based on these were protection units. They originally wanted to protect the neighborhood. At least that was the image of what people portray about, the Crips or the Bloods, that they were meant to protect communities. Because while you can talk about Tookie Williams, there's another guy, and like I say, I don't know, there's a bit of back and forth. I mean, you could say the same thing with the, I'm trying to think of the name of the gang in the Vice Lords. I believe it's the Vice Lords in Chicago that also, because they were the conservative Vice Lords. So they tried to make themselves into a community building organization, but didn't really work out. And they went back to dealing drugs and everything else like that. But like I say, I think there's a lot to be said for what the lumpenproletariat is going to do, The main revolutionaries and whatnot, doesn't matter whether it's NatSoc, whether it's ML or anarchists, whatever the case may be. Arguably, these folks will simply take the jobs of, they will simply take the place of the folks that are doing the jobs now in this current capitalist system, right? So somebody's going to be a new president. They're not going to say it's president, but it means president. There are going to be folks who are going to do insurance, work, or folks that are going to be managers of different, businesses or of co-ops or whatever the case may be, right? And inspectors and everything, and like insurance bureaus is what I mean. And taking these other posts. So the political folks, they'll simply take those jobs that are already there. They're going to rename it to make it seem like it's different, but ultimately they serve the same purpose that those other jobs were. So, anywho, I don't know. That's what I have to say about it. I do want to say this. I don't inherently advocate any political group to join this and that. The violence bit, I'll just say this about the violence stuff is, I don't advocate for violence, but violence is going to happen. So, yeah. That probably doesn't help my case, but I think that's all I have to say on that. I know that these get ranty and ravey, but I kept it under 15 minutes, so that's pretty good. Anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed that. See you later. Goodbye.